first lay eyes on a girl or boy, you know you're going to be completely, insanely head over heels in love with. I felt that 100 times over when I first saw her. She was smiling and laughing with some friends in the distance. Her smile always hit every part of her face, crinkling her nose and the outer edge of her hazel eyes. She was older, a sophomore when we were introduced my 8th grade year. Even back then, I knew what I was feeling for her, but it would be another 2 years before I told her how I felt, and another year after that before she actually did anything about it. We began our 1.5-year relationship her freshman year of college. I was a junior in high school. Dating a college chick. Yes. Okay, it wasn't quite like that, but it was awesome. At the time, she seemed so mature, so far ahead of everyone I was in school with, and so right for me. I've always been someone who is more mature than people my own age. But within a few months, everyone seemed to know what I didn't. She was toxic. She was overly dramatic and emotional. She was needy. And because she was that poor little wounded puppy in the rain, I became everything she needed me to be. When my needs finally began to make themselves present and I tried to assimilate them into the relationship, we ran into problems. She was no longer the center of the universe, and that was a huge issue for her. Within the first year, I was so enthralled and codependent that no amount of abuse could chase me away. I put up with more emotional torment than I think some prisoners have suffered. Everyone that knew us even a little was telling me to get out. And they were right. All of them. It was unhealthy from start to finish. Here's where I went wrong. 1. I changed myself, inside and out, to fit the mold she had laid out for me. 2. I didn't heed the countless red flags that flew up every time we had a fight. 3. I treated her like she could do no wrong, like she was Jesus incarnate herself. I stopped hanging out with my friends that she didn't like. I stopped being alone with female friends because she felt jealous. And I didn't hold her to the standards that she held me to. I didn't break up with her when she cheated on me with the gay guy. It happens. I didn't break up with her when she dumped me for him. I didn't even stop talking to her. I came to her rescue when he broke her heart. I stood firm and kept coming back when she told me she hated me and never wanted to see me again. I refused to listen to reason, and my parents finally gave up trying to save me for her. I just had to learn my own lesson. Finally, after years of torment, and even though we weren't even together, I'd finally had enough. It was a year after we'd broken up, our first summer together since then, and she was living alone in a house with her brother. It was perfect. I could see her all the time, even spend the night there if I wanted. And everything started to fall perfectly into place. So she made a guy at work. She stopped spending time with me so she could spend time with him. That was okay. I still took what I could get. I dropped everything to see her whenever she had free time and almost lost my job over it. But when she kissed me one night and then proceeded to tell me she was sleeping with him, the emotional walls came down with an almost audible click. She was staring at me, waiting for some response, but I could feel my expression hardening and my eyes going blank. I couldn't even look at her. I just stared right through her. She tried for hours to console me, but I was unresponsive. Finally, when I got the feeling back in my legs, I left. I told her I was finished and I was strong for about a month. And then she came back to me after he'd hurt her, and I fell back into the same pattern. She used me, again, and I let her just like I always had before. Not even 48 hours later, they were back together, and she told me she was finished with me. She wanted nothing to do with me. I was toxic. I was crazy. I was the cause of everything bad in her life. Me. I absolutely lost it. I yelled at her. I called her names. I wanted to punch her in the face. Instead, I left in the driveway and ran into the house. I punched a hole in a door, shattered a mirror with my hairbrush, and sank to the floor of my bathroom with my face in my hands and no ability to get a grip on myself. I couldn't breathe. I fell asleep on the floor that night, curled up into a tight ball, and my hands clenched into tight white fists. The next morning, I felt numb. It was like the world was masked in a thick fog and nothing could cut through it. It went on like that for almost a month, and then finally someone reached a part of me that I thought had shattered with that mirror. I was introduced to her through a mutual friend, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her at Halo, the gay club in downtown Bryan. I felt a pang of that feeling I had back in 8th grade. I was going to fall very hard for this girl. I was more sensitive than it, knowing full well what falling too hard and fast could lead to. But we danced at the club that night, we kissed in a tight embrace, and I took her to a movie the next morning. We may have seen Winnie the Pooh. That night was the first of many where I would realize how much I actually meant to the world. That I deserved so much better than I had been getting, and that somewhere deep inside my soul, there were still parts of me that weren't too damaged to be repaired. I don't know if she knows how much she did for me when she shook my hand. but I'm pretty sure she saved my life. I'm also pretty sure it doesn't get more hopeless than Halo. And if I can find love there, anybody can.